The first stage of the Paris Brest Paris from Rambouillet to Mortagne-au-Perche is likely to be fast and furious. And it is in this stage that you are most likely to encounter a hazard that may bring your journey to an abrupt end. Now, the riders in the 80-hour group are going to share the road with at least 250 riders at any one time in the first stage. And those in the 90-hour group are going to share the road with 100 more riders than that of the 80-hour group, and quite likely even more as riders from the 80-hour group fall back into the 90-hour group. And in this situation, all you need is at least one inexperienced rider riding in your group or Peloton that has not quite mastered the art of riding in a group and being unfamiliar with the hazards on the road. That may cause some kind of issue that may cause you not to be able to continue with the ride. So if you are a randonneur riding the Paris Brest Paris for the very first time, or a veteran of many previous events, you may find this video helpful to try to reduce the risk of running into one of these hazards. In this video, I'm going to take you on a journey from Rambouillet to Mortagne-au-Perche, that's the first stage of the PBP, and alert you to the hazards that you may encounter on the road that may bring your journey to a premature end. Just to be clear that the route that we're going to follow in this video is based on the official route published for the 2019 Paris Brest Paris event and may differ just slightly from that of 2023. And the images in this video were taken as part of a bikepacking trip that we did from Rambouillet all the way to Brest when we went out to reconnaissance the route in 2022. Chateau de Rambouillet, and this is where we are right here. And I think if we go through those gates, and I'll show you that in a moment, we're going to go, that will be to the chateau. But the start of the race is actually, if we continue up this path, up this road, and then we have to turn left and then right again, and then it should take us up to here, which is where I think the start of the race is. Okay, so we're going to try and get to the start of the race there. We covered this distance over a period of 7 days and 6 nights, and stayed at local guest houses and hotels along the way at each of the major checkpoints. You will notice that our pace in the video is a lot more leisurely, as we intended to take full advantage of the opportunity to explore the region, rather than riding at the pace that is required to complete the Paris Brest Paris within the allotted time. And this allowed us the opportunity to be able to identify the hazards on the road to be prepared for this year's event. So we started the video at the Burgery in Rambouillet, which is the location for the registration and collection of the event packages. Registration site for the international riders, and that is going to be the registration site for the French riders. So there's going to be 2 separate registration areas where you can pick up your race packs and probably also do a bike check there as well. And both of them are on either side of the Pigeonniers or Carbonnier. A cobblestone road leads from the Burgery to a gravel road located in the royal grounds of the Chateau de Rambouillet, which is where the start of the Paris Brest Paris is located. Yeah, they're really quite bouncy. I think you really have to try to use some low pressure fat tires to be able to get comfortably along these cobbles. Hopefully we don't have too many of these cobbles, but you can see the bicycle is definitely bouncing quite a lot. Therefore, when riding on cobblestones, it's absolutely imperative that you ride with caution to avoid punctures and other mechanical failures. Now, we have previously discussed the city of Rambouillet in an earlier video and invite you to watch that video later to become more familiar with its beauty and its appropriateness to host the start of the Paris Brest Paris. From our interpretation of the event information, the 2019 Paris Brest Paris started on a gravel path that exits the royal grounds of the Chateau de Rambouillet. This is the exit from the start. So what it looks like is that in the 2019 edition, the riders were back on this specific stretch of road, and this looks like it extends all the way back to the Burgery. So they must have stacked the riders along this route, and then the riders would come along here, exit from here, and then ride across and probably go on the main road and start the climb on that side. Now, as you exit the royal grounds of the Chateau de Rambouillet and turn left onto the main road, be aware that there are cobblestones on that corner. Not only do the cobblestones make the road surface uneven, but they may be extremely slippery if it does rain. You definitely don't want to crash so early in the event, as an injury to yourself or damage to your bicycle at kilometer 0 can significantly impact your performance for the remainder of the event. Make for some rough surfaces, and I think just be really careful, especially if it's raining. Just be really careful if it's raining that you don't have any falls or accidents, especially if you if you come out with quite a bit of speed, you might just slip on these cobbles as you're trying to take the corner. So just go carefully with that. We expect that the riders will then be escorted by police vehicles to the outskirts of Rambouillet. Now, the rules state very clearly that riders may not pass the police vehicles at any time, and if this occurs, they face the risk of disqualification. Be aware of unexpected braking or slowing down by the lead riders in the peloton or the police vehicles. There have been reports of crashes in earlier years when the peloton suddenly slowed and the peloton concertinaed, leading to several crashes. So when you see the sign that's crossed out like that, it actually means you're leaving the city. The route then follows a smooth, paved road leading west through a variety of small, rural communities. Be careful as you pass through these communities, as there are many traffic calming fixtures which may be an obstacle to the fast-riding randonneur. We have noticed that the roads in these small communities can sometimes narrow abruptly from being dual direction lanes to a single shared lane. This change in traffic flow appears to be introduced purely to be able to slow traffic rather than a response to some kind of geographical obstacle. In this situation, if you're riding on the edge of the road, especially on the right-hand side, you may have to abruptly squeeze to your left to avoid the traffic calming measure or obstacle that causes the narrowing of the road. This, of course, increases your risk of touching wheels or bumping into other cyclists and may be a risk for a crash. Be careful of this specific hazard. As you proceed through the small towns, be aware of speed bumps that are also designed to slow traffic. This sudden bump in the road can easily cause you to lose control of your bicycle, especially if you are racing along in a fast-moving peloton. Sometimes, if you are in a tight peloton, you may encounter the speed bump or speed hump without sufficient time to prepare and risk losing control of your bicycle. The speed bumps are, of course, easy to see in the daylight, but this may be a lot more difficult to anticipate when riding at night. The road surface is generally good, and we did not encounter any potholes along the entire 600-kilometer outbound route. However, conditions may have changed in the past 18 months since we undertook our reconnaissance. So keep a watch out for this potential hazard, and if you do encounter potholes, please alert your fellow riders to the hazard so that they don't suffer some unwanted mechanical issue. You will probably be very focused on riding as quickly and as safely in the huge pelotons as all responsible randonneurs should be. So you will be unlikely to notice these beautiful old buildings with their unique architecture along the way. Be aware that some riders in the peloton may be distracted by this beautiful architecture, and a distracted rider can be a hazard in the peloton. Be on the lookout as well for unexpected roadworks that may cause a diversion from the designated route. Burst water pipes or blocked storm drains can easily result in unexpected road closures and detours at short notice. We found at least one detour during our reconnaissance that led us along a short unpaved section of the road. Unpaved road surfaces may be a risk for punctures if you approach them at high speed with high pressure, narrow tires. This is a hazard, and so stay alert and be on the lookout for unexpected road closures. Once out of the towns, the roads, of course, are peaceful and quiet. We did not have the opportunity to ride on these rural roads in the dark during our reconnaissance trip. However, I have been told by veterans of the Paris Brest Paris that the rural roads can be very dark at night, as there's not much lighting beyond the village boundaries. Make sure that you have adequate lighting to navigate these dark sections safely. The forested areas are beautiful and will probably provide some welcome shelter from the wind. Although we did not see any wildlife during our reconnaissance ride, be on the lookout for wildlife when passing through these forested areas. A collision with a deer or even a domesticated animal while at speed can of course lead to serious injury. Proceed with caution. Something that you will soon become familiar with is the sight of a distant church steeple perched on a hill, surrounded by trees and smaller buildings. This is a very common sight, and the steeples usually indicate that a climb is imminent. Fortunately, the climbs are quite manageable, especially in the first stage of the event. It is difficult to appreciate the gradient of the road on these videos. Make sure that you have practiced some climbing, as you should expect at least 1,000 meters of elevation for every 100 kilometers covered. The cautionary note here is to expect similar steep descents. Make sure that you have good lighting and brakes to allow you to navigate these steep descents in the dark. Be especially careful when riding in large pelotons with riders that may be less experienced. Give yourself enough stopping distance on these descents. Expect the rain, the cold, and the wind. We reconnaissanced this route at the end of spring in 2022 and expect similar conditions at the beginning of the autumn of 2023. Dress appropriately and carry a warm jacket and a raincoat. Yep, we've been on the road for at least 6 hours. We left the buggery at 11 o'clock this morning and it's now just after 5. We have about 30 kilometers to go to our first rest stop. We've got some rain, we had lots of wind, we had some nice small steep climbs. We've had smooth and rough road surfaces. We've had lots of tiny little twisting roads through beautiful little villages. I think we've had quite a good experience, so I think we have a much better idea as to what to expect with the ride. Yeah, I think it's really helped to take away some of that mystery, and we know what we're in for now, I think. And if this is going to be another, how many? It's 18 stages, and this is stage 1. So 17 stages of this to go. Wow, that's going to be just amazing. If you're starting on Sunday afternoon or evening, anticipate that you may reach Mortagne-au-Perche in the dark. Now, this is not an official checkpoint on the outward journey. It is designed purely as a voluntary rest stop on the way out and conveniently located to allow you to refuel and rest if needed. On the return journey, however, it is an official checkpoint. Make sure that you have your brevet card stamped on your return to the town. We were very fortunate to have booked a very comfortable hotel room for the night at the end of stage 1 and enjoyed a special French cuisine dinner that evening. We sampled the local delicacies, including apple brandy, and this helped us to enjoy a really good night's sleep. Now, I understand that many riders anticipate to use Mortagne-au-Perche as a final sleep destination on the return journey, and I hope that you are able to have a proper night's rest here so that you may safely navigate the last 120 kilometers of the route back to Rambouillet. We slept soundly that evening, and little that we know that this gentle introduction to the Paris Brest Paris route would lead us into a false sense of security, and that the next day we would face the reality of just exactly how difficult this course really was.
Single tracks, single lanes, but drivers are very polite.
Join us in the next episode as we continue to explore the Paris Brest Paris route following the 2019 official directions. If you've enjoyed this video, please remember to press that like button. And if you would like to see more videos about how we reconnaissance the rest of the Paris Brest Paris route, please subscribe to this channel. Until the next time we meet, please ride safely.